Welcome to We Speak Tangent podcast, where we talk to neurodivergent entrepreneurs. Hello folks, welcome to this week's edition of We Speak Tangent. I'm Michael.
I'm James.
I'm Kat.
And this week we have Kirsty Heywood Macdonald with us. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Kirsty.
Now this is going to be a bit of an odd one for me. You might hear less of me as time goes on, but Kirsty, you are, of all things, an accountant.
Yeah.
Now,
Sorry about that.
I know.
Not at all.
This will be a shorter podcast. As you, for those of you with Easter eggs that have watched is there a Christmas sort of Easter egg thing?
A tinsel.
Anyway,
An elf.
Yeah.
Anyway, a bauble. Anyway,
Good.
whatever.
That. For those of you that have watched all of the podcasts before, I know very little to indeed nothing about money, so you'll just see my facial expressions as time goes on. But Kirsty, wonderful to have you here with us today. Could you please tell us a bit more about who you are and what you do before we get into the questions?
So my business is Heywood Macdonald Accountancy Services, and we specialise in supporting neurodivergent and disabled entrepreneurs. So basically what we mean by that is anyone that could benefit from accommodations to support them with any challenges that they've got.
So just what makes it, just for me, what makes it neurodivergent? I mean, what are the adaptations that you put into?
So we don't believe that one size fits all. So a lot of accountants, again, not dissing other accountants, but they have their way of providing services, but we tailor all those services. So people that come on board get an accommodation plan, and we go through any problem that they might have, any challenge that they might have that they need extra support with. So do they need us to provide our services in a certain way in the way we communicate with them?
So it's more that it's bespoke than
Definitely.
there's a model.
Yeah, definitely. So we have like pick and mix of software that might help them with certain tasks, and we do a lot of hand holding. It's very tailored. It is very bespoke the way we provide our services to people because everyone has different challenges.
Brilliant.
It's quite an unbelievable thing, and I openly tell people I sunk my first company. I am openly a neurodivergent, but had I had these things you just rhymed off there, obviously as the podcast goes on, we'll ask deeper, but somebody out there has created this, and it was you. That's a fascinating thing. As somebody, I like money, but it doesn't fuel me.
We all like money.
Need to eat.
But it doesn't fuel me, doesn't make me tick. But 4 and a bit years in, like these guys have made me know that you need money to eat. So like having an accountant way back then for me would have been unreal, especially what you're offering. Neurodivergency accountant is like blows my mind.
I think as well a lot of people can struggle with the numbers, understanding the numbers, and with budgeting and their finances, and it's very disabling in itself to not have a grip of your finances. So we're also very conscious of that, people understanding the numbers, understanding what it is that we're doing, and so they can make informed decisions. Because if you're making business decisions on incorrect data or incomplete data, then you can make the wrong decision, which can be disastrous.
And that was exactly it for me. Incorrect data. Filing accounts. What was that? Filing accounts. Something so simple has a drastic effect. So I guess my question, I'm trying not to say it, is like, early into the podcast, I'm like,
that's the point, yeah.
What advice would you have for a neurodivergent, let's just use me.
Get an accountant.
James. No, like...
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so what what is the input?
Aye, so there's that stage before it. So as a listener or somebody watching, they'll be like,
Right,
it's great having an accountant because we're always like big ambassadors for the next generation of neurodivergent entrepreneurs. But like, what are the initial contact? What would I be saying? How would I speak to you? There it is. Calm down.
So what happened? Yeah, I think what you may I summarise? So like, what happens in that first Me too.
Aye, it's like so.
Yeah.
Just simple. Like for me, I like
After
things
the
that are simple.
crying, what happens?
Aye.
It's like, we can
Oh,
work with you.
100%.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
only
yeah.
reason I did my first accounts, like literally the 31st of January, on the phone to the DD, whoever they are, and like crying and like, I do not understand any of these questions.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, that was a genuine question.
No, exactly.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's
I get
that
you.
fear of like, oh, are the police going to come tomorrow and be
Mm.
like, you have an undeclared dividend, and I don't know what that is. But yeah,
Yeah, there's
no,
a lot
exactly.
of anxiety
Yeah.
surrounding tax returns and finances. So people would probably look at our website, or they might be referred in from, you know, we have collaborations with charities and things.
Mm.
Other clients refer people in, which is lovely. But then they would probably look at our website. We try to put quite a lot on there to explain how we work, and then they'd book a call with myself,
Mhm.
and I would ask it straight off, do you need any accommodations for that? Again, some people might want a note taker on there.
Yeah.
They might want to bring a support worker, absolutely fine.
Mm.
You don't have to dress up, you know, turn up in a hoodie, whatever you want to turn up in, it's absolutely fine, we don't judge. And also, it doesn't matter what state you're in. So if you got into a mess, you've got a backlog, you're behind, you've got overdue returns, anything really, we're never going to judge you. And we
That's
specialise in
massive
fixing that.
in
You know, we
itself.
specialise in clean up and things like that.
I
So
mean, it's
you
It's
know,
massive, but the pressure is on you.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
so
but we
how-
love it.
Do you though? I mean, sorry, I'm turning into my dad. Yeah, we'll take away your pressure, but the pressure
like
is
you
on
say,
us
it's
now.
like, what,
yeah.
what is that challenge?
Yeah.
What is that sparkle that lights you up?
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So our team love that, and our team.
Why?
This will
Sorry, I'm honest. Why do they love that? That's just unnecessary.
if you gravitate towards training to be an accountant, you've got to have a certain type of personality, and a lot of our staff have special interests, which we encourage them to look into. And so the benefit for the business for that is that we get people who are experts in certain areas, and the benefit to them is they can look at their special interests and get really good in certain areas, and then we kind of can offer more services as well. So yeah, it doesn't matter what state your accounts are in when you come to us. We've got areas, you know, we've got staff that specialise
Those
in those
words,
areas.
I mean, you had me, it doesn't matter what state your business is in. You know, had I heard that, that is
Yeah.
absolutely, as a neurodivergent, that is the words I would need to hear. Because
Yeah.
I'm thinking of the other, the neurodivergent, or the person who's wanting their accounts done, it's the build up, that's what I was meaning. So to have somebody like yourself as an ambassador building this up, like,
Yeah.
I'm probably spent the last 5 weeks trying to get to a phone, you know, make a phone call, build it up, write it down, what do you need? All these things, but then to get somebody on the phone is like, doesn't matter what state it is in. And by the way, what you wearing? No, you know what I mean? But it's like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. All these things don't matter to you.
Yeah.
As me as
that's
the
so cool.
Yeah, I agree.
neurodivergents are all different. You know, when I'm saying what are you wearing, that's me. I'm making a joke because it's a very serious thing to lose your company. Do you know how that
Yeah.
makes somebody feel?
Yeah.
But an ambassador like yourself there, flying the flag would be. aye.
I mean, obviously, this is a neurodivergent entrepreneurs network, but I think actually that there will be sort of the other side looking at this going, I just want an accountant that will tell me there is no pressure.
Yeah.
Because of the climate that we're in, I
Yeah.
mean, there's always.
Because that's often the fear, isn't it? That you get to the level where you need an accountant and it's like, oh, I'm going to take everything to them, and they're going to be like, no, you've been doing everything wrong, and then you're going to get a massive tax bill or something. But it's like, yeah, that's amazing.
I think as well, you know, the whole point in neurodivergent entrepreneurs is we don't fit in the 9 to 5 box. So that is the thing. We become entrepreneurs because we want to do our own thing, want to give away what we've learned and what we've given. So and accounts is a big part of that.
It's huge.
And it's,
Yeah, and it'll probably, with the ideas that I have, the thing that the barrier is the numbers. So as much as I said I know nothing about money, I mean, it's this will probably, for me, if nothing else, be an incredible learning thing, as hopefully all the podcasts are for people. So, so we've covered how people get in contact with you in order to have that meeting, but I want to go back. Where did this all stem from? Because you don't wake up in the morning and go, I'm going to take an already difficult business and make it easier for people to digest. So what is the person, before we get to the stigma and the barriers and how did it come to be? Did you sort of, you said in the brief chat, because we always have a brief chat with guests just to make sure they're able to be in this room. So you stumbled on studying accountancy.
Yeah, so I was very
How does that even happen?
well. I've had a physical disability for quite some time, and it was getting increasingly worse, and I knew I was going to need a desk job. And it was just one of those things where I thought, oh, I know, I'll train to be an accountant. Who knew that I had a bit of a strange brain for numbers anyway, which turned out to be quite an advantage. And when I started studying, I realised I absolutely loved it. But when I started the business because I was made redundant and my physical disability was named as the reason, despite the fact I'd never had any time off work. But I was due for planned surgery. I'd saved all my holidays for that. So I felt sorry for myself for 24 hours, I'm not going to lie. Middle of COVID, middle of menopause, due to have surgery, physically disabled, and I've just been made redundant. So, I felt sorry for myself for a little bit.
But you're in the trenches, that's the point. That's the fight or flight that we always talk about.
I think that's the thing, when your back is up against the wall, what are you going to do? You're going to fight. You're going to go, okay, think outside the box. How am I going to make this work? So I thought, I know, I'll set up my own disability inclusive business. What can I do? I'm a qualified accountant. I'll apply for my practice license, and I'm going to prove that a disability inclusive business model will work and be profitable. And while we're at it, we're going to make it sustainable. It's going to have a really low carbon footprint.
Brilliant.
So, and that's exactly what I've done. And that's not being big-headed. We'll always change what we do and try and be better. But, we're getting real validation this year. We've been up for 7 awards this year.
Fantastic.
So we're really getting that validation now that it's working. We're getting the feedback from the clients that it's working. The team seem really happy. We're growing the team. They seem really happy. So, the model is working. It will be in a very evolving piece as we get the feedback and change based on that feedback. But yeah, that's where it started. I was determined to be disability inclusive.
I think that's so often where it starts. It's like, it's not working in the model that someone else is presenting. So create a new model.
We had another podcaster in, and she said chaos. Things are born of chaos, and that's exactly what that is.
100%.
There, beautiful things are made of the chaos.
I don't think you'll find a more chaotic thing than that. I was made redundant. I didn't take any days off. I was going through some physical challenges and also some other challenges, and in all of that mess, that's a special sort of person.
100%.
I mean, yes, the survival is there. But to be able to...
I'm not sure it's that special. I think everybody should be disability inclusive. Personally, I think
yes, of course.
Yeah,
but
we
they're
should
not.
ethically do
yeah,
it.
but the likelihood of them actually being fully inclusive. I mean, disability inclusive is one thing. Just be inclusive. Be as inclusive as you possibly can, and then from that comes success. And when I say success, before we get into the stigma of running the things, this is not a small business. You are all over the UK. So something must have went wonderfully right.
Really awesome.
Well, since we niched, actually, we niched working with neurodivergent and disabled entrepreneurs, because we first pitched ourselves as sustainable accountants. But when we niched, I mean, our revenue went up 60% in a year.
Wow.
Nice.
But we've tailored it very differently as well. And it, like I say, it's an evolving piece, but we've probably 90% of our clients, I think it's around about 90% of our clients are either neurodivergent, disabled, or both, and 85% of my team are as well.
Brilliant.
So we found a model that works.
So just for the as Kat says, we're going back to the knowledge and the sort of inquisitiveness of it. Please describe the term before we get to fully inclusive. Obviously, sustainable accountant. Because I'm not having a problem with the sustainable bit. It's the accountant bit. What is the difference between an accountant and a sustainable accountant?
So we were very focused on people's carbon footprint. So we were trying to reduced our carbon footprint as much as we could, and we were going into clients and asking them to, let's look at your operations, let's see how it can be more efficient, but also how you can reduce your footprint whilst doing your work. And so we started off that way, and I watched 2 years to get our company to be B Corp ready. We submitted our B Corp application earlier this year. So obviously we're going through that journey as well. But that's how we sort of pitched ourselves as sustainable in terms of like carbon footprint and reducing it. we introduced this year as well, we also said we only take on clients that have ethical banks and pension schemes.
Nice.
So we now will not take you on if you don't have an ethical bank or pension scheme. So we're in a perfect position to drive that change as accountants, because an accountant won't take you on because you're investing in arms and fossil fuels. Then you're going to have to change.
That's fantastic.
So we didn't realise how controversial it was when we announced that, but it was a bit of a hoo-ha. And there's a few other accountants getting on board, which is great. The only problem we have found is with charities. There's very few banks out there that are very ethical.
I was about to say, there's so many nested investments
that will support charities. So it is a bit of a problem. But again, the more we stick to that, the more it'll drive the banks to make those changes as well. So it's a small message at the moment, but we're hoping it will get bigger.
Small message with a big impact. Like.
And also, the teacher and research scientist in me is listening, and I'm like, you are gathering that data to be able to say this works and this is what's needed, and that's fantastic. And the way you're doing it means that you will have that information.
Reporting is coming in for bigger companies, obviously this year and next year, but the smaller companies, they don't need to do the reporting, but we're trying to make little changes even for the smaller companies. And people don't realise. People are coming to us and saying, I didn't realise I was with that bank and they're not ethical. I didn't realise I'll change, of course I will. Yeah. So, just little changes like that.
And what you're just saying there is, like I've always said in many a podcast, we as neurodivergents are in your houses, we're in your taxis, we're now your accountants. But
you cannot escape us in any form.
But I think, the reason I say that is because we've always been there. But now we having accountants like yourself, we will be there even more.
Now we're finding our tribe.
Exactly.
And it's becoming safer to be open about it as well, which is brilliant.
So what... I'm going to try and frame this in a way that doesn't make me sound incredibly ignorant, but please describe what stigma within the sort of accountancy world that you have sort of encountered by doing this incredibly different thing.
I think because we're doing it slightly differently, you get some old school accountants who are actually not even in the cloud at the moment, and that's not, you're not giving your clients the best service if you don't advise them to use AI and go into the cloud. That's up to them. I'm not dissing other accountants, but I think the stigma has been, we've set ourselves apart, we're doing it very differently, and it's all been very much, the traditional accountant's very straight-laced, and there's a lot of compliance, there's a lot of regulation, and we do it a set way. And that's how we do it, and that's what they tell the clients, this is how we do it. But you can still do that, but tailor your service, and there's not many of us doing it yet. We're trying to change that.
Good for you, And again, it's randomly in my head. I need to say it. You just reminded me of the Mary Poppins film, with the bankers and they're laughing.
Yeah.
Oh, fair play. Sorry. Okay, got it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's what they were doing. He was trying to change it for He was trying to change it for a penny, and he went in and they were laughing. Sorry, I do apologise. It was in my head, and I couldn't. But that's the slight kind of thing that is that small change. I know I'm referencing Mary Poppins, but that he went in with a penny, making everybody laugh, and it changed the whole ending of that film. Yeah, that's what you're doing. You're leading for the front by example. Don't be scared of change. That's one of the...
I don't think they are scared of change. I think they were... Oh, you mean the people? Sorry.
No, I mean, like...
Got it.
As neurodivergents, change is one of the things that, something changes, but if it doesn't change, then how are you going to do something different?
It's never going to improve. And certainly in the world that we've got at the moment, there's a lot of AI and software that can make life easier, and I'm all for making life easier. You've got to embrace it. You've got to move with the times. You've got to evolve. You can't ever stand still in this industry.
Yeah. Good for you.
Outstanding. I'm just thinking, is there any, I'm not sure, is there any competition? Are you the first person or the first accountancy firm to do this?
So Dragon's Den now, like this.
Yeah.
Oh no, but the next question would be, has it been done before? And we just missed it? Because in my research, my sort of minimal about accountancy, research that I've done, I haven't seen this, so I think
we've not seen it either.
Good, okay, so I'm doing the right research.
Yeah,
that's
that
good.
Doesn't mean there isn't anyone out there doing it, and I know there are people starting to do it now, which is great. We're actually offering webinars, helping people to do it. We've done webinars for accountants. We do webinars for any businesses that want to be inclusive. So we do a webinar about building inclusive teams, but also how to provide services, inclusively as well. Yeah. I want more people to do it. It's not competition. We all do it in a slightly different way, and we won't be for everybody. You know, some other people might do it slightly differently, which is better for the people. And I don't think there's ever. I'm a big believer in collaboration rather than competition.
Fantastic.
And the more people that do this, the better, because then, you know, we can't serve every neurodivergent and disabled entrepreneur in the UK. We can't, and we probably shouldn't have the monopoly on that. So yeah, I want more people to do it.
What a humble statement. You know,
100%,
that's you come in and like do things like this. You never know what somebody's going to say, but that just shows the ethics is sincere, genuine. You know, being humble in your game, imagine, is a massive tool. You know, because a lot of like for myself as a neuro, I've only got myself. I'm not all me, but you know, going out there and thinking that my business was something different. I stuck in that. That's part of the reason why why it's the first business isn't there, because it isn't different, James. It's just delivered different. Somebody's had that idea, that product is there, or that's there. It's how you deliver it, and that's what you just said. So it's nice to meet somebody along the journey that's got the ethics, you know. And the I was going to say something else there, but the cojones to go out there and actually go, this is us, this is what we do, and this is why we want to do it. It's not all about money, you know. It's about the ethics to be out there and help people. And the carbon footprint, you won me over with that as well. Mon the trees, you know. It's about helping everything in that. I get excited.
Mon the trees.
Mon
the trees.
That's a t-shirt.
That is a t-shirt. James is on one today, folks.
But it is. It's like it's passion. When I hear passion, I always enthuse on it.
It's exciting.
Aye, it's like when you find your tribe and you're in with people. It's like, aye, and I'm not afraid to get excited about somebody else's project or somebody else who has that word humble. You know,
There's nothing better than seeing entrepreneurs do well.
Yeah.
You know, and you've helped be on that journey with them. It's been brilliant. But every decision we make, we always come back to the ethics and say we're very clear about our ethics, and does that decision back up our ethics? And if it doesn't, or we're not sure, we don't do it.
Brilliant.
And that's what keeps us on track. Really.
Excellent.
And also, I'm not sure whether we've mentioned this yet. It's not just neurodivergent entrepreneurs. They're going to neurodivergent or accountants. Like, this is like for like, in the sense of your team is almost entirely identifying as
It's
one,
a
both,
you know, that's
or,
a statement in itself.
So like, it's not like here are how do I say this nicely?
Here is someone who is trained to help
Who
you.
understands
It's here is
you.
someone who really understands.
Do you know about money? No. This is literally finding the tribe. This is neurodivergent entrepreneurs speaking to largely neurodivergent or identifying as having existing conditions accountants. So there's not a language barrier. You are literally just moving it around so it works for people.
And we all learn from each other as well, because not everyone has everything, or we all experience things in different ways, but we have that empathy. And everybody, the staff have accommodations and the clients have accommodations, and everybody talks about their accommodations and everybody understands everyone's accommodations. So there's that empathy from everybody,
It's such a beautiful
you know,
system.
it just works, and it's like a community. It's like, you know, when you find your tribe, but it's not just your stuff at your tribe, it's your clients and your stuff at your tribe. So,
And so I'm going to, I need to say this. When you first said that accommodation, I was like, this woman's amazing. She's getting everybody a house, or like giving them something to move into. And it's just clicked there. I was like, accommodations, man. My mind sometimes works too fast.
I didn't realise you were doing that
Reasonable
well.
adjustments.
Like, where's my house?
I get it.
Yeah, very good.
just have a big commune.
Yeah, one day. It's in the 20-year plan for the name. It's a retirement home. We'll go and live there.
Speak for yourself. Like,
Also, Michael is building an empire, but there you go.
No. Yes, yeah. It's a wonderful. It's not just an idea. It's a thing. You're doing it, and you're doing
It's
it to
working
scale.
as well.
That's
And
brilliant.
Unfortunately, we've only got through one question, so I think this will be.
We're tangenting well
Yes. It's very rare that I say to folks beforehand, like, this will be a short interview, and then it really isn't. Like, if I don't know where we're going
Who
and
knew,
we're just
right?
vibing, like, okay.
Unconscious bias about accountants, that's what that was.
Yes,
It's
it was.
true,
100%.
very true. But yes, I'm sure I will this time goes on. So we are going to we are going to break and go for part 2. So, because I think that's a good spot to end.
I think
You've got
so
for the first, there's not a cliffhanger there. There's not,
Sorry, no
it's-
cliffhangers this episode.
but there is a tangent, so we've fulfilled our quota. So yes, so please join us in part 2. See you then. James.
Right. Welcome back, guys, to part 2. And I'm going to ask this question just straight off the bat because I'm on one of the days.
Boom.
So, can you please describe your neurodivergent journey, if that's not too personal?
You get the difficult question.
It's usually me. I just like
It's all right. There's likely to be several tangent
yes,
sub-questions.
100%.
Yeah. So, having known I've always felt a bit different and not really understanding why, it was after I have some close family members who've also had neurodivergent. I don't want to give away too much, but they've had diagnoses. And being quite shocked by that, I started to do a deep dive into why I hadn't picked it up myself. So that, one person in particular has been a muse for me for that. But also after having I'm not being dramatic when I say catastrophic burnout, I realised that I needed some help. I wasn't recovering from it, and I went to get therapy. Now, little did I know at the time that therapists specialise in neurodivergence.
It's funny how the synchronicities
You
work out.
cannot get
isn't it?
away from it in any. Like everybody is like everybody's their own specialist. But at this point, family and friends and the therapist you went to for help specialises in the thing.
Yeah. So I was the last person to know, if I'm honest.
That's usually the way.
Family members have teased me for years. I've thought it was just a standing joke, and went for this therapy. And long story short, would I be open to considering that I might be neurodivergent? And after a lot of resistance, I tried to prove him wrong, and I did a really deep dive into autism and ADHD in particular. I'd already started researching ADHD, but then I started researching autism and ADHD because, of course, when the two are together, it's very different. Yeah. And realised,
that's the first person other than Kat I've heard use the term ADHD.
It's a good term. I love it.
I mean, it's a good term, but I didn't know it existed until you said it, and then I thought, well, it's just something Kat says, and now it's like it's an actual thing.
Have you been on the internet?
Not recently, no.
But again, that brings a different level of complexity to it. So
100%.
being a female, so you're brought up to mask anyway, and then sort of the two sort of conditions sometimes can cancel each other out or collide or contradict each other, and I think that can mask a lot of things as well. So it's been quite a journey.
Yes, you are the anomaly. You are the identifying female that's been potentially diagnosed as ADHD.
So, Kirsty, we were having a wee chat outside and we were talking about that you thought everybody thought like that. And that's the way I thought until I met these guys, and it's like until I met Rachel. I always thought that people thought like me, but there was something else she said. I constantly say this to myself: am I or am I not? Am I autistic or am I not? Am I ADHD? The whole thing every day.
It's about feeling valid to hold that space, isn't it?
I would be lying to the camera and to everybody if I didn't admit that is something that I think about on a daily basis. First thing in the morning, usually when I'm having a cup of tea. Can you elaborate on that, if that's all right? Not too personal.
Yeah, so I think, in terms of professional diagnosis, I think it's down to the individual. For me, it's down to that last jigsaw piece going in. I feel it's missing. And I do have the imposter syndrome and but what if, I resonate with all of this and all the, the tests I've done are coming out really highly, and all the people around me are saying they think I am, and, got professionals saying they think I am, and professional clients who assume I am.
Assume you are. Wouldn't it be terrible if you weren't at this point?
But part of you goes,
yeah, of course.
But what if?
Yeah.
And so for me, the professional diagnosis was the next step because again, I felt it was that piece of the
Yeah.
jigsaw that was missing, and I needed that validation.
Yeah.
So that's why I decided to go for professional diagnosis.
Closes off the chapter as well. I mean, as
But
I
it's
say,
not
that
for everybody, and I think that's
no,
okay.
and I went for a re-diagnosis because it just plays on my mind constant, but it just still plays on my
Because
mind.
it is that double-edged sword of, you know,
Yeah.
you're getting all of that validation and finding your tribe, but it's also accepting stigma.
Yeah, but I mean, it's also
Yeah.
it's whatever jigsaw you want to buy. Like, why get a charity shop diagnosis? Because there'll always be a missing piece in the jigsaw. If you want to figure out what it is, so, I mean, self-diagnosis only gets you so far. But for some people, as we've said many times, like the diagnosis, people assume that's the end, and people
It's only the
assume
beginning.
that it's like no. You have the correct jigsaw, but now you have to start all over again. But knowing that you are who you are.
Yeah.
And
and
like
I-
you say, it's like, you know, that whole square peg thing, you know, like
Mm.
there are round holes. You just have to find them, and it's like, you know, you're creating that community where that is available to people, and that's
But
really,
also,
really cool.
you've said something that I don't think anybody has said yet in our time doing this, which I want to elaborate on, which is that you tried to prove the specialists wrong.
Yeah.
You would be amazed at how often
Yeah.
I hear that, but it hasn't
Same.
been discussed in this space.
No.
So for those people out there with, you know, copybooks, how on earth do you try to prove the specialists wrong?
Well, it became my special interest. Little did I know that was part of it.
Yeah.
And I did a deep dive first into ADHD because of my family member, but then I did a deep dive into autism
Yeah.
because of me, and learned as much as I could possibly learn, and talked to people about their experiences, and did all the tests, and then realised I resonated with way too much, you know, for it to be a coincidence. And it started to make sense. It started then to make sense of my life and the struggles that I'd had and were having. But then there was a big journey attached to that. So I think there's grief attached to that, especially as a later sort of recognising this at a later age. There's a grief of the journey you could have had and how different your
100%.
life could have been. But then you also have to say, well, okay, it could have been very different, but it could have been worse in some ways, you know. I've had these strengths that I've not known I've had. And as well, you then, I think there's the diagnosis journey, you know, I've gone through the right to choose. Some people are on a waiting list for years.
Yeah.
You know, I've been very, very lucky. Mine was 8 months on the right to choose journey. Some people don't want that diagnosis because they can't face it or for whatever reason, and that, I think that's absolutely valid, but you have to self-diagnose before you go down that journey of diagnosis, because it's not easy.
No.
The forms you have to fill in, you have to go see your doctor, so I think you have to self-diagnose first anyway.
But it does
to
get
put
better,
yourself
doesn't
through
it? I
that.
hear people, it does get better once you've got, because it's for you. It's like easy for us to sit here and say, oh, you know, great, what would he feel? It's for you. It's your journey. Your journey might be different, but there is a blueprint there.
And I think
No.
that really resonates. You know, one of my mantras that I use a lot is you can only start where you are. And it's like exactly like you say, you can look back and say, oh, there's, you know, various different intersectional griefs that go on.
Yeah.
But also there's that opportunity to build something good now.
And
And to
also-
forgive yourself
Aye.
as well, isn't there? There's
That's
that, you know,
interesting.
I
That's a
think so
very
anyway.
interesting
For me,
term of
it's
phrase.
forgive
forgive
yourself.
yourself.
Yeah.
For what?
For thinking,
Or the
It
horrible
was-
negative things.
Yeah.
and it was all your fault.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's such
something wrong.
forgiveness attached to
I'm
that.
just a broken human.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then also allowing yourself accommodations,
Yeah.
and then seeing how those accommodations affect your life positively, make life easier, reduce the anxiety, give you more energy because you're not spending energy on things, fighting things that you don't need to.
And here's
Yeah.
one for you. Well done for getting to this
100%.
point. Thank yourselves.
Oh,
Like,
well,
look at
thank
enough
you.
of people.
I'll get on
It's
with
a
that.
journey that I'm
Aye.
not finished, but it's,
Well
you know,
done.
and it's been hard. It's
Yeah.
been hard, and I
Imagine.
think the other thing that I talk about a lot is the mental health sort of,
Angle.
it affects your mental health
Yeah.
massively, and people
Kills
don't
it.
realise.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
you know, there's
And
like
getting support.
24,000 more negative comments
Yeah.
for people with ADHD by the time you're 10. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think that's, I mean, there are two things there. As somebody with the early diagnosis, I have the guilt that, as you said, it didn't take nearly as long. So, I mean, either side of that coin, there's the same amount of thing, and why am I taking up so much time? Why is this? Why is life so much effort compared to somebody over there that's got nothing on their mind whatsoever, and I'm trying to save the world with what I've got. But that is a perfect segue into what now do you flip the coin? What do you value most about being neurodivergent?
So again, this has been quite a journey, and I'm still working on it.
Oh, hang on. ... So far, it's not a finished thing.
Yeah.
What do you value so far about being neurodivergent?
Or where are you on that continuum between grief and learning?
It's a short question. If you don't value it at all, we can move on.
Well, no, I think I've proved how resilient
Absolutely.
I am. And again, if I look back and think, oh my goodness, really, the fact that I'm here now, it's been quite a journey. It's been quite an achievement in that sense, and sometimes areas have been worse than others. But I've got a few other things that I'm starting to find. So pattern recognition, I didn't realise wasn't normal. I just thought pattern recognition, everybody could do it, but there's definitely, and that's great as an accountant because you're analysing data and you see a pattern quite easily. You can physically see it. That's great.
That's so cool.
I've got a weird brain for numbers, which has been an interesting. I didn't realise I'd got a weird brain for numbers. So I remember numbers that I've been working with. So just for example, I'll be doing some bookkeeping and obviously dealing with people's invoices and receipts and things like that. And then I'll come to rec the bank and it will be out by a certain amount and I'll know what it is.
Yeah,
I immediately know what it is.
Your
I
AI
recognise the
before
number.
AI.
I recognise the number. It's bizarre.
That's just congratulations for having a working memory. We're
fantastic.
yeah, that's
so
brilliant.
Cool.
No, because it's being able
I'm
to.
hyperlexic, so I sort of have that with words. So
Yes.
I can kind of identify with. Yeah, that's really cool.
See, some people think that's weird, but I just think that is using your mind as it is intended to effectively.
But it was a shock because I have
Yes,
a short-term working memory. So I couldn't tell you sort of what I ate yesterday, but I can remember a number from 3 months ago. It's bizarre.
That's
Brilliant.
awesome.
But great as an accountant.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like you've picked the right thing to do with your time.
Eventually.
I just picture you sitting at your desk with about 10 computers, like, right, okay, to the next.
All back's wrecked.
Brilliant.
So things like that. So the resilience, and then the sort of my mental health is now stronger than it's ever been in my whole life.
Well done.
Because you know.
Well, because I've thrown everything at my mental health this year.
Yeah, okay.
To be fair, I didn't have a choice. I threw absolutely everything at my mental health, and I would highly recommend it. And I've got coping strategies now. I now understand what I struggle with to a degree. I understand what accommodations I need, again, to a degree. And I've thrown everything at my mental health, and I have regular check-ins with myself daily. And I think that's been a big thing that's come out.
Done. We always say self-care is so important, more so for neurodivergent, but for everybody.
100%.
You cannot go to work with somebody else unless you go to work on yourself.
Yeah.
That's also a t-shirt.
And it's not selfish.
That isn't selfish.
100%. And I had a similar journey kind of a couple of years ago where I was doing like 2 or 3 kinds of therapy at the same time. It was intense. But like you say, it's that it's almost giving yourself permission. Yeah. And it comes after that forgiveness that you're talking about. And then it's like, actually, I get to choose if it's okay for me to need and have these things. And then you have them, and then it makes it better. And it's like, wow. Okay.
I clearly just haven't had enough therapy. Like that's what I'm learning here. I mean, self-care is important, but
coaching and therapy is where it's at, man.
Where do I sign? No, but yeah, it is.
Also meditation.
Yeah, well, yes.
And a good coach as well.
Definitely
a good coach that specialises in neurodiversity. Definitely.
100%.
Highly recommend it, and mentors.
So yeah, I mean, knowing, but that's a value thing. That's waking up every day and saying, I am valuable.
Which is
I
a
can
big
do
journey
something. Yeah.
from I am a broken human to
Yeah.
I am a valuable human who deserves this.
Because it makes sense, and you realise it's not your fault.
Absolutely.
And I think it's big
To know your worth as well.
Yeah.
That's it, absolutely. So will I bring it back to business?
Please do.
Oh,
We're getting very kumbayari over here.
So have we done the what do you value about being
Yes, I've just
neurodivergent?
asked
You realise you're going to have to come on my retreat.
So
I can do Zoom with about 4.
I think this one will be interesting for a quite like this. So what kind of work environment best supports and have you adapted your routine to work for you?
Yeah.
That's a new one. Goodness.
Yes. I struggled to
That's a paraphrase.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Right.
So work environment. So we provide accommodations for all staff, and so basically what I've done is I've provided accommodations for staff. Then we rolled that out to clients, and I was the last one on the list because I didn't think that I could have them.
Bless you.
So when I suddenly realised, you can have accommodations too. What would you like? So there's various things that now I work around things that I struggle with, and I don't want to use the extra energy upon that. So things like for my job, everything goes onto my Trello board. That then goes onto my calendar. Then I go into the office in the morning. The first thing I do is get Alexa to set alarms. So
Nice.
Alexa will set alarms 5 minutes to, and then on the actual time of the meeting, because in that 5 minutes I can forget that I've got a meeting.
Yeah,
The best
so-
bit is
yeah.
if we say Alexa enough, somebody will be
Oh,
watching
aye.
this on YouTube and they'll get a funny alarm. So
Alexa,
Yes.
play me Robbie Williams.
I know, yeah.
Alexa, set a timer for 5 minutes.
Everyone, please video your Alexas doing that so
Yeah.
that we can share it, because that would be hilarious.
We have one fan in Alexa, but she gets everywhere. Yes. So you set alarms on
Yeah.
Alexa,
I also have some magnetic timers that I have.
nice.
Yeah.
and you just re-engaged, Kat. Magnetic timers. Do timers need magnets?
Oh, it's
Well,
more
they,
fun.
yeah, so they're attached to a filing cabinet. But it makes me take breaks because I forget to take a break. I forget I need a drink well, I say that, and now accommodation is I have a pile of drinks
Excellent.
to remind myself. But I'll forget
One
to
for
take a
caffeine,
break.
one for tape, one for flavour, one for hydration.
Yeah.
Shout out
Exactly.
ADHD
I'm
Love.
really sorry.
Yeah.
You're going to have to say that again, but about 20% slower. Sorry, my caffeine, I've just hit the wall. So one for caffeine.
One for caffeine, one for flavour, one for hydration.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
That's a thing,
it's
right?
a thing, yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, ADHD Love started it, and now everyone's on it. Again,
I didn't know that.
Consult
but
the
yeah,
internet.
I feel included
Why
now.
not just have one water bottle?
it is
that you
100% a thing.
No.
Hundreds of people have
No.
commented and are like, yeah, we do that too.
No, because we're caffeine addicts, most of us, aren't we?
Yes, no, absolutely. No, yeah, okay.
Yeah. So you've got to have the caffeine, which
Yeah.
is the coffee.
Yeah, so then you just rehydrate. And
It's
then
either that or a drip.
Yeah.
Well,
Either's fine. No, okay, so...
And then a nice flavoured drink,
Yeah,
and then a hydrating drink,
Yeah.
which would probably be
Makes
water or
sense, that.
something. Yeah.
exactly.
And you switch.
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you have labels on them? It's getting too specific. Right, so you have sorry,
Just in
back
different
to business.
receptacles.
This is just us
Oh,
stimming
shut up,
now.
receptacle.
If Andy's got Michael and the Secret Santa, get labels on his bottles.
And you can have a mug that you plug in that keeps your coffee warm, because we always drink
Oh,
cold
yes.
coffee.
Why not just make another coffee?
Yes.
What?
No, again, as a chemist, heat mat in the office, I'm totally on that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I know you're an accountant, I know you're trying to save money, but if your coffee is cold, make another one. Surely.
The heat mat will use less electricity
No,
than the
because
microwave.
you have to take yourself out of a hyperfocus to go make
Also
another
that,
cup of
yeah.
coffee.
I'm hyper-focused because of the coffee. Like, it's a thing. Anyway,
That's
no,
why you need a constant supply of warm coffee.
Yeah.
Done.
I have learned something new today. Right, so you have, we got as far as it goes on the Trello, then you've got magnetic timers to remember
All the
to
drinks are there.
drink, right? So
Yeah.
you're in the
The
office
coffee is warm.
And then lots of
because of a heat mat, but next.
Yeah, so lots of software, try and automate as much as possible.
Mm.
So things like people that want to book in a call with me get a Tideycal link, which is similar to Calendly,
Yeah.
and then that automatically goes onto my
Brilliant.
calendar. I automatically have a buffer afterwards so that I can take a break afterwards and write up notes or
What
send
a
a
cool
quote.
setting.
So yeah, Zapier is good
Yeah,
for that. So
nice.
you get a Zap. And then from then onwards, if I'm, say, sending a quote, we have the quoting system is part of our CRM, so that generates all the internal deadlines, and you allocate
wow,
it
awesome.
to a member of staff as well. It generates the price and the proposal, and then once that's sent to them, everything's automated. So they e-sign
Fantastic.
it, they get the proposal, they e-sign it, direct debit is set up, anti-money laundering checks are all done automatically through software. There's a little bit of manual, so we might have to send a link out, but they'll get a link to an accommodation plan booking, they'll get a link to an onboarding brochure. So we put a certain amount on the website, but one, we're trying to keep the carbon footprint down on the website, but also we're trying not to overface people with too much information. So we try to find the middle ground with that, but then there's an onboarding brochure which gives a bit more detail.
Brilliant.
And then we have software to help with various jobs that we've got as well. So we try to automate as much as possible, use AI a lot. I use Goblin Judge a lot for the tone of my emails, because apparently I can be blunt. Who knew?
That's the first time I've ever heard those. So there's Goblin what now?
Goblin Judge.
Right. So that's a piece of software that tells you how blunt you're being.
Yeah, but pretty much.
Why
It's like Gramarly, but for tone.
Yeah.
Like, Kat, you're a friend. Why haven't I heard of this? I could have saved myself a lot of time
And it's
a lot
free.
of money.
We like free.
Amelia is
Nice.
nodding, but I could have saved myself by putting it into this piece of software. Right, okay. There's a nice software. That's good.
So if you get an email in and you don't know what the tone is, you can put it in, it'll tell you, and it'll
Oh,
suggest a
that's cool.
response as well.
Nice.
If you
Have you
don't-
thought about sleeping on it and then coming back the
Yeah.
next morning?
This tone may have been annoying and or distressing.
You know,
I did
that's
walk
really
away and
interesting.
come back, yeah.
That is fascinating.
That's
You know, like,
brilliant.
I read emails 50 million times until I'm like, wow, they should not have spoke to me like that.
I just
Yeah.
drink a coffee.
Like,
But you
it's-
can question yourself and think, have I taken that wrong?
Yeah.
And sometimes the email's going out, if it's maybe a particularly sensitive client or you're a little bit worried, you're not quite sure, you can put it in, it'll suggest what the tone is.
That's
So
Brilliant.
it will say professional with a hint of frustration but to the point, and I think perhaps need to soften
That's
it a
a
little around the
t-shirt.
edges.
Professional with a hint of frustration. I love it.
I think mine's a bit more blunt than that, but I'll take that as a t-shirt. Yes, with a hint.
Well, use the software and then see what it calls you, and then that can be another t-shirt.
I know, yeah.
In fact, shall we just all do that? And
Aye.
then we could, that'd
See,
be
when
funny.
you log in, it goes, Michael, we've been expecting you.
This is why you have no friends. Yeah.
Oh,
It's true. No, so everything's automated, and you have a piece of software that assesses the tone of your email. So basically, you can't go wrong.
Well, you can.
What if there's a
If you
server
didn't-
break? I mean, what
Yeah,
if
if you didn't use it, or
Yeah.
I use Google Gemini quite a lot as well to sort of help. But again, that can be a little, not necessarily have the human touch. So it gives you the
Yeah.
basics, and then you kind of put your own personal touch on it. So
nice.
I wouldn't totally rely on AI. You've got to also
But it's
proofread it
helpful,
yourself.
yeah.
It helps
It's a lot easier to
massively.
edit something than it is to create something. Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
Interesting, man. It's like the technology is here, and it's there to help people like us. It's quite interesting that, because there is the argument in it that the art world has been swallowed up by AI, but here we are in the business world, and AI is
I mean, this
helping.
is what AI should be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I believe it does. I believe
Yeah.
it really does help us.
Aye,
It's brilliant.
Oh,
Yeah.
technology used well can help a lot
Yeah.
of people.
Definitely.
And
So then
yeah.
your calendar and your alarms kind of dictate what is happening. I'm curious how. So do you check in with the calendar every morning, or do you have like an alarm the day before that like warns you it's going to happen?
we're drilling down now, folks.
So
Right.
I
Brace.
go to the office at a set time, and that's
Uh-huh.
my sort of boundary. I have to go start
Yeah.
work at a certain time, and the first thing I do is open up my calendar.
That's cool.
So everything goes onto my Trello board. Everyone knows if it doesn't go on my Trello board, gone.
Not happening. Yeah.
Not happening. And then I'll move everything the day before onto my calendar, and then when I go into the
Right,
office in the
okay.
morning, my home office, I put everything on the
Yeah.
Alexa alarms.
Nice.
So that's my first job.
That's such a good system.
Because I've been known to even miss a staff meeting, my own staff meeting. I was very late for.
Yeah.
Well, I've got a
I'm the
weird
same.
one.
If it's not in the phone, it's not happening.
My neurodivergency switched at some point, and I'm up like 4 or 5 in the morning. It never used to be like that. Something changed.
Trust me, my friend, it's not like that. You're the only one that gets up
Is
at
it?
4 or 5 in the morning.
No, I do that as well.
Well, okay, well, you found a friend, but no, that does not.
But I think yeah, there are two kind of positions.
I
Yes.
don't know how that
The,
happened.
the centre is rare. Yeah.
And like when you asked that, I was constantly asking the question in my mind: is it like ADHD me's taking over? Is it autistic me that's like, right, get up, move? I don't know.
I used to laugh one of the offices I used to work in. Person I worked with had ADHD, and then so you went into her office, chaos of post-its everywhere.
Wow.
Went into my office, also chaos of post-its, but lined up neatly. It was like, that is a very good visual representation of what's
Organised
going
chaos.
My
on.
Trello board, to be fair. Yeah. I mean, it's just reminded me of another accommodation is I don't take meetings in the afternoon anymore. So all meetings have to be booked before 1 o'clock.
Nice.
Because otherwise I freeze. I don't get anything done because I'm waiting for the meeting. I can't start anything because then I get all my meetings out the way in the morning up to 1 o'clock, and then I can hyper focus on what I need to do.
Overwhelming.
And that's really helped.
So like, just funny when you said that, when I've got something in for 2 o'clock, that's it for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
There is nothing else getting done, because that time is just, it's important. I waste by the time before.
Yeah.
And I'll probably waste the time after, and I get nothing else done. The overwhelm just takes over, and that's when I know I am really, really. If there's 2 things in my diary that day, and that pushes me to the point where that's me burned out.
Yeah, I think
Couch, lights, everything else.
Yeah, we're back to the pressure thing again.
no,
Where we've circled back to the everything's fine, we can handle it. Where if I have 1 or 2 things in my diary to do a day, I get a bit bored. I mean, this is different because you travel to come in. But if I'm in, I don't know, Hoik or D&G, like if I don't have 4 or 5 things to do, I don't have that same level of push. But I find it marvellous that people know where their hyper-focus is, because I haven't even learned that yet. And it usually comes at the wrong time when you don't want it to. But yeah, it's really, I mean, but that's an education piece for me, to actually figure out that people know when they work best, when their hyper-focus happens, when they need to stop working to free up the day.
Yeah.
It's not anything that I've ever looked into, but I will, because I'm impressed.
I think the
with
number
how
of
people
things
know.
is really interesting, because I had somebody years ago said, I can only do 3 things in a day, and I implemented it. And like, if I do more things, it's because I've managed to make 2 things be 1 thing in my brain. If in my brain I have more than 3 things, it's just like, no.
Which brings us on to the time, nearly overwhelmed.
Indeed.
So maybe we should break for part 3.
Part 3,
after?
yes, indeed.
Because there's other things as well. There's body doubling, there's accountability partners.
Yes,
there's all sorts of other things.
We need to discuss all
as
these.
as the NEN, we are starting body double. We have body doubling and also peer coaching.
That's massively, doesn't it?
Yeah,
James and I thought that was
amazing.
a stunt double for about 6 months.
I was
We
like,
genuinely did.
there's somebody like me? There is somebody like me?
Nobody wants to body double this. I mean, no. But no, it's. I'm sure it's all things that we will absolutely address and talk about in part 3.
Fantastic.
So please join us. We are here with Kirsty Heywood Macdonald. Please join us in part 3.
Thank you all.
Folks, welcome to part 3 of We Speak Tangent. We are here with Kirsty Heywood Macdonald, who is part of Heywood Macdonald's Accountancy Services. Good name, by the way. Original.
It's original, isn't it? Yeah.
So we're gonna ask a question, and I think talk about things that I don't think have been spoken about on this platform yet. So this would be a good way to do sort of time management and how you deal with that, and some of the things. So Kat has the final question.
I do. So what advice or resources have helped you most as a neurodivergent entrepreneur?
Having a good therapist, having a good mentor.
I'll second
Great
that one.
answer.
So a coach, definitely a
Yeah.
coach. If you don't even want to have therapy, a good coach that specialises in your challenges, I think is really, really important. Finding the community and finding your tribe. I know we've talked about finding your tribe, but seriously, that's probably one of the best pieces of advice, is to find your tribe, and also give yourself accommodations and really think about your challenges and your struggles and what you need, and give yourself those accommodations because you deserve it too. And then one of the other things, sorry I said there was one thing, but
That's fine.
just be kind to yourself. Forgive
Absolutely,
yourself,
yeah.
be kind to yourself, and speak kindly to yourself. So one of the things I've been working on is
self-talk is so important.
definitely because it goes into your subconscious, and it's about, if the way you speak to yourself, would you speak to another person like that? If the answer is no, then don't speak to yourself like that either.
And until you're 7, you just absorb how to be in the world, and that way of talking to yourself just stays unless you consciously reprogram it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
some of it can be automatic because you've done it for so
Exactly,
long, but you really have to pull yourself up and say, oh, I wouldn't call someone else stupid. I wouldn't say, what on earth have you done that for? You know, all those frustrating sort of comments that you might make, you know, you wouldn't speak to another person like that, so don't speak to yourself like that either, because, you know, it does affect your mental health.
Exactly. Yeah.
So those would be the main things that I would suggest.
Harsh words have repercussions.
Yeah.
It does.
Absolutely,
And
yeah.
kind words also have great repercussions. It's all too much that we dig a hole for ourselves and then we're like, we forgot about ourselves. How do we get out of here? So it's nice to hear
But
that.
tell yourself you're proud of yourself. You know, I've just done that, and that's
Celebrate
hard.
all the
I'm
little
really
wins.
proud
I
of
thought
you. You know,
you were telling me you were proud of me. I was like, I will take that also. I'll also take other people saying that. But it's like, I often ask this question. Last time I asked the forward question, what would you say to future you? But, you know, listening to your story and how you've brought yourself to here, it's nice. It's not too far away from mine, apart from I'm not an accountant, but as you can see the same
Parallels.
the same things, you know. See, when you're out there, like, I don't mind telling people I'm a lonely guy, but I'm not alone, and I can hear that in things you're saying, that it's all right to be alone, you know. I heard you say during the break there that it's taking time, you know. There is a separation. The autistic and ADHD, we fight with each other all the time, and, you know, it's taking that time for yourself and going, you need to stop now. You need to really be for you. But the question would be, somebody asked me, if the phone rang, who would you speak to? But I'm always interested in, what would you say to younger you, if that's not too personal?
Oh gosh, so much.
What advice?
There's so much to avoid and people to avoid and things that I've done that I would change and do differently. But to my younger me, it would definitely be kinder to yourself, for sure, because I've been really quite cruel to myself over the years, but also to say to myself, there is light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not an oncoming train. You know, hang in there. You've got this. Hang in there. You know, it will get better. I think I would like to tell my younger self that. You know.
And you know why I asked that is because we're in the now, right? And I'm all about mindfulness and getting there, but you're here now. So the future you is dependent on you. So you are still that person, that younger you now, because future you is dependent
100%.
on you. And I can hear in your voice, and I can say it's like, it is. This journey is never a lonely journey, because you can meet people along the way who are very similar and have been through the same things. But yours is extraordinary because it's you. But to sit and listen and hear the things you're saying, it resonates with me. As I imagine it will resonate with other people there. That to get somebody like yourself on this show, that's my Ayrshire accent, on this show, is it's been inspirational. I know sometimes I sit there and I'm quiet, but the things that you're saying, as I say, are not too far away from things that we've heard, but you've just gone into detail. You're describing it. And, you know, as I always say as well, like, as long as we keep meeting people like yourself, it will help the people going forward. And as long as
absolutely.
as long as you keep doing what you're doing, the wee people behind you, you're an example. You're the example, an inspiration that I always wanted to find. So now we're finding somebody like yourself, and I really, really, really mean that.
It's really kind of you to say. I get slightly embarrassed when you say that, but it is lovely to hear, and thank you very much. I think one of the reasons why I now talk about my journey and my mental health journey, I'm starting to talk about, is because other people's stories have inspired me and helped me. And if I can help one person not necessarily go through some of the challenges I've had, or realise there is light at the end of the tunnel and there's hope, then job done.
But there's great solace in feeling known. And I think the more people that share, the more you can see yourself in that.
Yeah, it's about knowing other people. You're not alone in what you feel.
Exactly.
Other people are feeling that, and they've come through it. And you know, it's nothing to be ashamed of as well, because there's a lot of shame attached to it with you know, problems with mental health. But I feel a lot of mental health comes with disability as well, because there's pain attached, there's frustration attached, there's
Stigma.
Stigma attached as well. You know, we're frustrated, we can't do certain things that we want to do. And you know, I think COVID has actually helped with a lot of stigma of mental health. That's helped, because a lot more people are open about it, but we're still not open
It's like
enough.
95% of people who didn't think they were like struggled with mental health before do now.
I mean, it's opened the floodgates. It is the new normal.
We're talking about it more.
Yeah, but I think so. I think COVID. I mean, as the chair of a disability organisation, I can tell you that before you, before organisations that were fully inclusive started employing, a lot of people actually said that COVID was. I mean, it was still a tragedy and it was awful, the whole thing.
Yeah,
but the actual idea of that was the first time that people used tech to communicate.
There was a lot of evidence that came out of it, because before it was like, oh, you can't work at home, you won't be as productive.
Yeah.
And then there was 2 years of evidence of actually you can and you are, and actually a lot of people are more productive.
And we proved flexible working works.
Exactly.
For a lot of industries, not everybody, but for service-based industries
completely.
like ours, it works.
And it takes incredible courage to actually then put that in a business context, because you're taking your own experience and what you can do, and as James says a lot, giving it away. You're giving it away for a fee, which is wonderful. Yeah. But you're giving what you do away, and the opportunity to actually change an industry is far greater than telling somebody the sort of the path, because we've all been on a path of sorts. I think everybody's talking about mental health now, and it really highlights some of the issues that are there. But
and I think they've always been there.
Oh,
We've just not
absolutely.
talked about it.
Of course, yeah.
And that's where part of the stigma comes from.
Because that's part of the square peg thing, isn't it? It's like, oh, I should just be able to do everything as quickly as everyone else and the same way that everyone else does it, and faster, and just trying to be perfect. This doesn't work.
You don't know the struggles people are having behind those
Exactly.
doors.
Absolutely.
100%.
But let's say you go back to what you do for a job, is like you're changing your future, but you're changing other people's future.
Yeah, completely.
That for me is like, my bills, I might be sitting still, but I am moving. And it's like, to hear that stuff, I know I keep saying it, it's like, accountants serve a purpose. Obviously, they get a bad stigma, but for a neurodivergent accountant doing what you do, man, this is what the world needs.
The fact that ethical framework exists is just exciting.
You should, if you go into other businesses and show them what you do, knowing your accountancy, that would shape and change things.
I mean, talk about modelling.
Aye.
Yeah.
That I think everybody should do it. I don't really think everything we're doing is special. I know it's different, but I think everyone should try and be inclusive.
I completely agree.
Sometimes it takes you.
That's why it's special.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just takes one different person to go.
Show that it's possible.
There you go. This is possible. Aye.
So I guess just to sort of, we've discussed a lot about what you do as a job and what you do and the coping strategies that you have. Is there any time to switch off? And I say that genuinely.
That's for sure. My brain doesn't ever switch off. But that's been one of the challenges I've had, because my brain never switches off and I've always got these ideas I want to implement. I have to have accountability partners, and I have to have people that body double with me to keep me on track and go, does that fit the goal? You've got this goal, you've got this game plan. Does it fit that goal? If not, it's not a priority right now, and you have to let it go. So I'm very big on brain dumping. So I'll brain dump onto like a Trello board that I don't use, and I might come back to that idea at some point.
Cool.
But then I take out the priority, and then I'll have accountability partners and as I say, body doublers and things like that that'll help me stay on track with that goal. So like we had a goal to set up a wellbeing resource centre. Again, it's virtual, but it's all about signposting people towards access to work, peer publications, trauma research, oh my goodness, right to choose, all of that. So that was a focus. So we got that set up, and we'll keep adding to that. I set up what I've called consultancy services. So we now do webinars to teach other people how to be inclusive.
Fantastic.
So again, we'll add to that, and we'll probably add courses at some point later next year. We want to set up a podcast. It'd be great to have you guys as a guest.
Awesome.
How are the reverse roles?
We'd love to do that next year. Set
Yeah.
up a podcast where we'll bring in, again, we'll bring in people that specialise in different areas.
Fantastic.
Again, it'll all be about inclusivity and reaching marginalised groups.
Wow.
If you see me with a big bag, you know what I'm bringing. And it is on my receipts. I'm here.
Thank you for going there.
Hey,
I wasn't sure where that was
I
going.
lose paper, so mine is all digital.
I know, that'd be great.
So there's a lot to do. from your standpoint?
What a vision,
Yeah, I have a busy brain. I mean, that's why I don't sleep very well. I have a busy brain, and I just sometimes need to get it out, you know, and then form some structure. But the team help me with that. So we have strategy sessions, and we discuss it. We discuss, you know, what we need to change to do what we do better, and then what projects we'll work on. And so we kind of.
What do you do for self-care? What do you do for you? What's your self-care?
And where does your alone time happen?
Yeah, so I bring in alone time when I know I've had something big. So no offence, but I'll have some alone time tomorrow.
Of course.
I think
This
we
is
all
a big
will.
deal.
Yes, absolutely.
This is a big deal.
It's built
you
into
know,
all the calendars.
If I've been and done something like a networking event, I'll need some downtime after that. And it's not that I'm not working, I just have alone time. So I do not disturb time on my calendar.
Okay.
Nobody bothers me, and I just work in peace and quiet, and that's a big recharge for me. I also do check-ins. So on my calendar I have check-ins. I do mental health check-ins and well-being check-ins. Like physically, do I need anything? Mentally, do I need anything?
That's awesome.
And that's, you know, that's a really big help, because I forget to stop and check in on myself, and I catch things earlier then.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to listen to my body a little more and
It's about
listen to my
recognising
mind.
those canaries. Isn't
Yeah,
it? And
exactly
they're
that.
individual to everybody. Yeah.
Because by the time I usually recognise them, it's gone too far, and it's difficult
It's a
to
big
control.
fix then,
and to fix. And practice gratitude every morning. As soon as I open my eyes, I
same.
practice
That's it.
gratitude. Yeah.
Swap attitude for gratitude
Yeah.
every morning. You're lucky you get another day. Like.
At least 3, if not 5.
Aye.
Yeah.
So always one day at a time is just how you try and keep it. But I get that whole busy mind constant. Like it's up before me in the morning, like 500 miles an hour as soon as I get up. And again, that's why I say to people, that's why I'm not in a relationship, because I can't get up in the morning without my head going shoo. So I just annoy my cat in the morning.
The trick is to find somebody that's equally as that.
Yeah,
Oh
you see,
my goodness.
That's the trick.
There's nothing wrong with cats.
No, exactly. I have dogs, so they're already awake. The moment I shift, they're like, oh, what's happening?
Feed me.
And I have a dopamine list as well. So I have a dopamine menu that I go to if I'm struggling.
No, I have that in my crisis kit. So
I've never heard of this.
You can't leave that.
I know.
Right.
I've never heard of this.
What?
Cliffhanger.
Okay, right. Your dopamine menu. Okay.
Dopamine menu, yeah. So when I find something that brings me joy, I write it down on my dopamine menu.
Yeah.
And when I'm struggling, I go to my dopamine menu. What do I want to do?
Right,
what
so
am I
other
capable
than-
of doing?
Other than changing the landscape of how business is done and accountancy is done, what brings you joy?
Yeah, what is on there? That's a good question.
It can be anything from, like, if I'm struggling with my mobility, I might not be able to go for a walk.
Yeah,
So
sure.
exercise might not be a thing. But it can be anything from, like, earbuds,
Yeah.
typing really, you know, the kind of music I really want to listen to quite loudly.
Yeah, I love
That
it.
can bring me
So,
joy.
yeah.
Or it can be, you know, listening to my favourite audiobook, which will also can be learning something new.
Yeah.
That really
No, I
brings
have
me
that,
joy.
yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Down
I allow
Siegel's
myself the
books,
hyper
yeah.
focus into something that
That's
I really
cool.
want to learn as well. So all sorts of bits and pieces
Brilliant.
like that.
I'm going
And
to
as I
make
find them, I write them down.
I'm going to make a dopamine
Yeah,
menu.
you do.
I
There are
just
also
live
lots
my
of-
dopamine
There are
menu.
also lots of apps that's like virtual hope box and stuff where you
Yeah.
can put that in there, and then you just go there. It's got loads of like photos that make you happy, and then like that list, and then like your safety plan. It can all
Oh, if
be
I
in
have
there
another
together.
app on my phone will load.
Me too.
And then they get you this.
It's all
And
about culling the apps. Only the useful ones
Aye,
get to
don't
stay.
forget to
Yeah.
cancel your 7-day free subscription. You're like, okay, that was a year ago. Aye. So no more apps for me. But I'll write a wee dopamine menu. That's intrigued me. That's my rabbit hole today.
There you
So
go.
I think that was the tangent Wendell tangent. I think
For today,
yes,
yeah.
yes. But Abby, just thank you, and I think
Yeah,
we'd
thank you
love
so
to.
much. What a
Thank you for
amazing
having me.
discussion.
It's been amazing to meet you guys.
I think this is the start of a bigger journey, because I mean,
100%.
because how long has the actual business been? We always forget to ask that question. We always
How
ask
long
it
have you
at the
been
end,
training?
like
Three-
amateurs.
3.5 years.
Yeah,
All
there
right,
you
so
go.
it's still pretty much in its
Pretty new,
infancy.
yeah.
We're very, very different to where we started though, because and it'll always evolve. So the you know from where we started with a physical office and people coming into an office and all the rest of it, and now we've got a virtual team all over the country, flexible working, much better
fantastic.
package.
Brilliant.
Clients have got accommodations as well. It's a completely different business. Apart from we still do tax returns.
Awesome.
You can't
So
get
cool.
away from tax returns. Right? Just like that. But I think it's the start of the journey, and I think that we always invite guests back and say, let's see where you are in a year or a year and a half.
That'd be amazing.
But I think of everybody, I think you really know what it is that you want to do, and you have you're in a different at a different stage than some of the people that we have met, because it's the next thing. And something that I think anybody will tell you about neurodivergence is we don't tend to know when to stop. So as long as you've got that person there that goes, no, I think you've done enough there. Otherwise it'll just keep snowballing. But thank you so much for travelling and being here, and I'm sure that we will meet you again, and there might be some cross podcasting to do.
100%.
But everything that Kirsty has said will be in every link, every app, every
all of the apps will be in the
show notes. Will be big. There will be
or message us if there's anything we've missed.
Absolutely.
I was going to say, I'm sure there's bits I've missed. I can go back and look at the other things that we use
that's
and
the
send them
hope,
in.
you see.
Well, we can always do a part 2.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, like a part 2.1
2.5
as opposed to a part 1.3. Anyway,
But I've learned more about accounting and more about human condition than I did a couple of hours ago. So thank you very much indeed.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming.
And yes, and the link to your business will also be in the show notes.
Absolutely.
It'll all be there.
Yeah.
Just read the show notes. That's the thing to
also
do.
watch the podcast.
Yes, please watch the podcast.
Or listen on Spotify. Some of you are there. Yeah.
Whatever takes your fancy. But thank you very much indeed for being here with us. For now, I've been Michael.
I've been James.
And I've been Kat.
Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
Bye. Thank you for listening to the We Speak Tangent podcast, brought to you by the Neurodivergent Entrepreneurs Network in partnership with South of Scotland Enterprise.